Hello, everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call. So today's title is Should Star Citizen 3.9 Be Late? But that's more meant as a short title. I think it's very obvious, like the situation that we're in the world, as to why 3.9 would be late. But what I'm really kind of talking about and asking the question and posing is 3.9 Pillar Talk came out, and they mentioned the fact that if a patch isn't ready, they really want to put a polished patch out to us. And is good, like we've heard about stagger development, date driven, this and that, and they're like constantly flip-flopping what they want to do. And it's driving me nuts, sort of, because I don't understand what they want to do, right? I just let's be clear, it's okay to change your mind and see that something didn't work. But I think they kind of like casually breezed over the fact that they were like, yeah, date driven, don't really care anymore. Right? So I think they care in the sense that we'll never get a 3.0 again, right? 3.0 was a really bad situation where we didn't have a patch for an entire year. So if you're new to Star Citizen came post 3.0, which I'm sure a lot of you guys did, in between, I think it was 2.7 was the last 2.0 patch, and 3.0, we had an entire year. And there was very little communication as to what was going on at the beginning of that time period, and then a lot of communication at the end. They were telling us, what are the blockers, updates every week, blah, 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 blah. But it took them a year to put out a patch. They're never going to do that, right? They're never going to do that again. But my question to you guys is it okay to be a little bit late on 3.9, which may cause 4.0 to be a little bit late? But the way they kind of explain staggered development to me and how I understand it is there's people working on 4.0, there's people working on 3.9. So if 3.9 is, let's say, the end of April and it's a month late, how does that affect 4.0? Does it? Does it not? I imagine there's some people that cross over and work on some things. So that's kind of what I want to put out there is, do you guys want your date driven? We've played some really crappy patches, right? Like 3.8 was a really good example of, I think, what we don't want. 3.8.2 now is kind of reasonable. 3.8 and 3.8.1 had a lot of issues, right? It was borderline unplayable in my opinion, and I think that's what they're trying to avoid. So are we comfortable? Do you guys want that? Would you rather them be a little bit late and have a 3.9 drop to wave 1, wave 2, and be relatively solid, very few, maybe 30Ks, very few, maybe client crashes at that point, and be able to experience the game how it's meant to be, even though it's a PTU? Or would you rather them just be really on time? I get my content every 3 months, whether it's good or not. I'm along the line of be late if you need to. Most game development studios, what we see is they work on a patch, and then when things are starting to get close, they start doing dev diaries and showing off some of the content, but they don't give you a date on when it's going to come out until a week or so before it's coming out, maybe 2 weeks before it comes out, right? And then when all the features are in and they're just polishing, right? So yeah, that's the one thing that it's like, okay, what do we want there? So anyway, that's it for me. I've given my whole spiel to try and entice some people on the on watching the show live to come in and call, on top of just giving my thoughts on really what the subject is. It's not related to what's going on in the world. It's related to the shifting in how they're developing the game kind of over and over again, right? So with that said, I thought it was really appropriate to bring in our first caller, who's ASN, and he's a game developer at a totally different studio, but can kind of maybe open our eyes a little bit, give us some insight on how this may affect things, and so on and so forth. And then we have a couple other callers that might be calling in. All right, ASN, what's up, man? How you doing?
Hello, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm well. So yeah, I assume you heard everything I was saying, and
Yeah, I did.
so I guess the first question I would ask you is, I think the most important one is, if 3.9 is late, do you think that has some issue with 4.0? Is that going to cause 4.0 to lose features and be late?
Mhm. So so it depends. So basically, in general, there are works that you do consecutively. So if part of your work would need to be finished for other work in the future to progress, then those parts could be delayed. While there are other things that are not dependent on each other, they don't have any dependencies, and they can work in parallel no matter what happens previously.
Okay.
So one of the easiest examples of this, like because a lot of people can kind of correlate to it, is art.
Yeah.
Like a ship doesn't necessarily need to be finished for another ship to start, because a lot of the ship systems, for example, are complete as they are right now. So you don't wait, for an M50 to finish before you can get let's say another ship. Obviously, there are other dependencies within the ship pipeline, like ship families and their art, but that's one of the examples. So in parts where there are things that are built on top of each other, it would, no matter if you do staggered or not.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. It's kind of like, it wouldn't work any other way. You could do partially develop certain things. You can develop parts that are not dependent on what is needed before to prepare for it. So once you are there, you just attach and you just move on faster. So it would be pretty unrealistic to say nothing would be influenced, and it would also be like very unrealistic to say that everything will be influenced. So it's somewhere in between.
Just going to be a month late now as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is likely that it would be, but that really depends on the items inside 4.0. So like basically, that is another thing with Star Citizen which is interesting, that they don't say like, oh yeah, well, these items, we don't need them. Just like, they do that, but like sometimes they do hold the patches out for a bit longer to just have more stuff in them. And that kind of puts them in a situation where, let's just delay this for 3-4 weeks and get everything in. So yeah, it's a pick your battle kind of situation. But being completely date driven in the previous sense, which by the way, I don't think they were fully date driven anyway.
They said that they would be, but have they ever really been? At least in the sense that I don't think we're going to have a go no go meeting at around this time, and then if their thing isn't ready, it's out, right? And I don't think we've ever seen that. Because as we're in, like, you see the Evocati patch, right? And as we're like, everybody knows when the Evocati patch happens. So you see the roadmap updates post Evo, and like features are still moving at that point. So where's the date-driven part? Was it ever there anyway?
Like, it kind of seems like they are strict on certain things and strict on not strict on others, because there are elements of the game that are more, how do you say, intertwined to other things than other things. So for example, if you are developing, just trying to pull up some examples from the roadmap. So for example, if you're working on AI and collision avoidance, and your work doesn't make the finish line, so if you would put it in halfway, then you would break, the entire all AI, which by the way did happen in Star Citizen development. We saw it many times. But you rather say, okay, I'm not going to add this. I'm just going to push it forward. But if there's another task in the next quarterly milestone that is built on top of that, then you're essentially saying that, okay, that one will be slightly delayed because we need to finish this one first and then develop that one. So it's kind of like has a cascading effect. And these are the things that producers do. They try to minimize these things so they don't happen as much, but they still do, obviously, because that's how it has been.
Well, that's when people say you don't understand game development, is those things just kind of happen, right? Typically, sometimes things just even don't work out. They're not as easy as they thought they would be. Took longer to bug fix.
Even in
so
smaller projects, it happens. So it's like one of an easy example, and these are very our tools are way like it's just like compared to Star Citizen complexity, our tools are much more simpler.
Yeah.
But like even with our save, like for example, our save system kind of developed for 3 iterations.
Okay.
And like there was a point where we had to get the new save system out for something, and but there was another improvement we wanted to make on top of it, and it didn't make it in time. So the other improvement got pushed further because like the first iteration had to be completed for the second iteration to be done. So it's like it was like a step-to-step thing. So that did delay like our goals like for a month because it got pushed forward. So stuff like that, you know, like it just happened. So I honestly like looking at 4.0. The things that are really missing here, a lot of things had progress on them. So like I'm not really worried about the weapons at all or like the ships that much, because like that's not where the real meat of Star Citizen is at this point, and I think most people aren't that interested in that anymore, especially in this community.
No.
But like, you know, having, I mean, yeah, Crusader and the cloud tech and the AI stuff, new AI using cover, those things are like right now not progressing much. And you know, there's still time, but you know, if 3.9 is delayed, and if 3.9 has a lot of AI tasks, and if they have a certain AI developer bandwidth that they also use for Squadron, then obviously if these tasks are kept being worked on for another month, that means the other tasks might not be worked on for another month, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I think that pretty much clears it up as far as how things should affect each other. But what's your opinion on it? Like, as far as just not a game developer, but a person who enjoys games. Would you rather them be putting out content every quarter right on the day, and kind of do what they said they were going to do, or if something's not ready, we just take it out? Or would you rather them, you know, take a little time and massage it and make sure it's nice when you release it?
I do think that they do, because since they're developing 2 things at the same time, there's a lot of back and forth between these two big game dev branches. I mean, they're combined, but like, you know, Squadron and SC. I do think that they knew that they do need an extra month for each patch. So I do think that the future, the better future, is to just accept that there will be only 3 quarterly, like 3 patches per year, and then every patch gets another extra month, because they've tried this so often now. Like, it's been 2 years of trying. They have all the resources in the world. They have all the like expertise in the world. Like, if they keep trying and it doesn't work for years and years and years, I think it's just time to accept that the extra month is needed per patch, and then switch to a patch every 4 months.
I've seen some people mention that occasionally, but yeah, that it's hard to disagree with that logic, right? If it doesn't work, why not try something else? What about, this is what I always thought might make sense, is what about, is there a way that it would make sense to do these 3 patches per year, 3 major patches per year, but then also insert like maybe an additional one that is fully focused on things like balance and bug fixing and like quality of life improvements? Or are we giving that extra month to make sure we have those quality of life improvements into each patch?
So like essentially what they're doing right now is actually, I think, the correct approach.
Okay.
The correct approach, like, of getting a patch out, getting a 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, that is the right way to do it. Because then, you know, once you get the main content drop, then you get a separate update patch, and then you work on that with a small team while the rest moves on, and then they keep patching, and then they branch, release, and then compile back, branch, release, compile back. So whoever's working on the next big content drop just, you know, pulls the data. So like like it's about managing so many different teams and things at the same time, make sure everything progresses at the same time without anybody hurting each other's progress. So with that concept, the 0.1s and 0.2s and 0.3s per patch from a gamer's perspective is better, and from a development perspective is better, because the patch just got out, it's fresh. You want the feedback, you want the improvements then and then. Like, you want immediate, like the community's energy is going out there. They're saying, oh, this sucks, this is good. I mean, they just generally say this sucks more than this is good, but yeah.
That's just
and then, you know, you want that at that time.
Yeah.
So the extra month generally the part of the extra month goes to that, but the other part also goes into another week or two to have flexibility, because these things are not like this is not like straight out maths. There's a lot of moving pieces, so you do need a bit of breathing room, and you just gotta you gotta have that. And if they have such complexity that they are always struggling to meet this, then that means the reality is that they do need an extra month to tackle these issues.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense to me. Now, I wonder how everyone feels about that too now. So again, if you guys want to call in and even respond to something that ASN's saying about let's go from 4 patches to 3. How does CitizenCon play into that then? Let me ask you that one. Not this year's CitizenCon. I think we all know that everything is going to be a little bit weird this year, but how in general does this positively or negatively affect CitizenCon?
You mean this year's CitizenCon or this cycle?
In general.
How this would affect
CitizenCon in general, the idea of having 3 patches.
I think it would make it even better because already you can see that the end of the year patches get sacrificed for CitCon because so many developers have to go to a physical space and they have to move around. There are a lot of logistical issues. Development time gets pulled away. Like even right now, for example, for us, we're a small studio, but like we're working on the next big event for Steam that's going to be in the front page.
Yeah,
we're preparing a trailer, we're preparing art, we're preparing marketing stuff. Like, and at the same time, I'm still developing the game with the team. And like I can already feel how many resources and time we're just pulling away from the game for a marketing event, for getting the game out there, for getting, a demo out there. So with SIG, it's no different. It's just like scale it up. You have 500, 600 more people, but it's the same thing. 200 of those have to go to an event, have to speak, have to prepare, and have to get the build up. So those things do eat away time, and you got to calculate that in. With a 3 patch cycle, so you have the first patch, the second patch, and the third patch will be the CitizenCon patch. Yeah. And you still have an extra month there now. So the patch, even though it is CitizenCon, wouldn't release in a very bad state like 3.8, you know?
If it works out, they can literally, while everyone's at CitizenCon, can go, and the patch is live now, and you guys can go play it. And maybe even the features that they're showing off are just going to be there kind of thing.
Yeah, because imagine 3.8 when it released, how it was, and like just add 1 extra month of development time to that.
Yeah, and then you have 3.8 too, which is what we're playing, which is pretty good.
Yeah, so exactly. So that's the point, to give them a bit more of these things. Because what's the point in a half measure patch just to have a 4th one in a year,
Yeah.
And we do get those half measure quarterly patches. And I don't think it really makes sense. I mean, maybe it makes sense from a marketing perspective.
What do you mean by half
there's
measure?
Activity.
like
Because
just not as quality, not as good content in it? Is that what you mean?
I mean, yes. Basically, there are a lot of sacrifices they make. I mean, last year you saw there are certain patches were just improvement patches, which is fine. But that was a quarterly patch that was meant to bring new content, not to be meant to improve. The improvement patches are .1, .2, .3. That's the better way. Not having one quarterly patch that is lightweight and meant to fix stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Do you want to promote? Do you want to promote your game at all? You're always on here helping us out, and you got a big event coming up, and you want to tell some people about it? It's up to you.
I mean, if you're gonna do ATC next week, I'll promo then.
I can't promise anything because of the way things have been. If 3.9 comes out, I will do an ATC next week. You can at least say the name of the game.
Yeah. Okay. I'm working on Suzerain. It's a political narrative game set in a fictional 1950s universe. It's meant to get us engaged in the topic, try to kind of live out certain fantasies, and in a way, experience a dramatic story, kind of disappear, and kind of House of Cards meets Mad Men. It's basically focused on role playing, and we've been developing that for 3.5 years. And in 2 weeks at Ludonaricon on the 24th of April, we're bringing out a demo that's about 2.5 hours long. And we invite everybody to check it out if they're interested in these types of games.
Yeah. Chat's asking, does it have spaceships? And how expensive are they?
We have delayed all the spaceships.
Okay. So it'll be perfect then. Well, all right,
Yeah.
ASN. Yeah. So, and we've already talked. I'll definitely be like streaming that event and all that stuff. So I'm excited. It's
I'm
not the
excited
typical
too. It's
kind of
big
game that I
time.
would play, but I'm so excited to try it out because it's
Let's see what
different. It
Chad
seems
thinks.
like it seems exciting. So
Yeah, I'm also excited for 3.9, and I hope they do. They are doing quite a job. So I do hope whatever they are working on translates, and we have a good time. I'm looking forward to another Star Citizen update.
yeah,
So yeah, good luck to the CIG team, and I hope they're all healthy and safe because pretty sure some people, it's all out there, the virus. So I hope everybody's safe and
yeah,
fine. That's what matters at the end of the day. So
for sure, exactly. This is just
you too.
us chatting. Yeah, you too, ASN. I mean, it's touching all of us, right? Like my grandfather has it, so he's doing a lot better, which is good. He seems to be recovering nicely, but it's still scary, right?
Yeah, I hope
It's
you
touch and
course
go.
swiftly. Yeah. All right, man. Thanks.
Yep. Talk to you soon, ASN. Thank you so much.
Bye bye.
Bye. All right, and I'm not 100% ready for you, Kitsu, because I forgot to work your name in here. But how you doing, man?
Pretty good. I am just playing Animal Crossing and waiting.
You're playing Animal Crossing and waiting for 3.9, or waiting for me to bring you into the call.
Yes.
All right, explain Animal Crossing to me and why is it so good? Because I look at it and I'm like, this is a children's game.
It's just like a nice kind of grind.
Okay.
It's also kind of nostalgic for me because I grew up with the original on the GameCube.
Okay.
Okay. And I don't know, it's just you kind of just walk around like a town that you can build up, and you talk to like cute little villagers that say like sickeningly sweet, nice things, and it's just like the only stress-free game I can think of.
Very kawaii.
Also, I hate the Easter event because all of the fucking gathering items are eggs right now, and it's like really
Okay, well let's get on to Star Citizen. What do you feel about the whole 3.9 thing and the obviously it was going to have some delays, but the fact that they're deciding that, you know what, we're not going to push a patch out until it's in a better state. We're not going to do essentially what I feel like they're telling us is we're not going to do 3.8 again. And how do you feel about that?
Yeah, because 3.8, being a new player since like December, I played 3.7, 3.7.2, and it was great in my opinion.
Okay, yeah, like, 3.7 was a really good patch cycle actually.
Yeah, I was like, oh, so this is like the game that I've been waiting for. I'm gonna finally back it. It's like really good. And then 3.8 happens, and they take off for a month, and I'm kind of just like really annoyed.
Yeah.
However, at this point with 3.9, I'd rather they just kind of like just push it out, and then just do the update patches while we're waiting for 4.0.
Okay. I mean, do you think you feel that way because we're all just kind of sitting at home not working, and we're bored?
I'm an essential worker, so I'm not having that issue.
Okay.
I'm coming from like I got like a taste of how the game currently is, like good.
Yeah.
And then it kind of just like took a shit with 3.8, and even with like the carrot coming out, that wasn't enough to like actually make me solidly play, and now I just want like the actual like new gameplay.
Yeah, as great as the Carrack is probably the best ship they've ever done, in my opinion, but it's still just a ship. There's so much that ship needs to interact with in order for the game to be fun.
With the Carrack, it's like all of this content is missing from it anyway. Like there's no drones, there's no exploration stuff. The vaporware cargo modules aren't a thing because those are supposedly a thing.
You've only been here since December, and you're this salty?
Oh, I've been off and on watching the game since like 2015.
Oh, okay.
But like
But
it was
he
like
gets
a
it. He
once
gets
a
it.
year. Yeah, it's like once a year I'd check in on the game, be like, oh, okay, it's not. But I don't know. In December, I was like, you know what? It seems like there's enough for me to actually pay for, and then it just disappointed quickly afterward.
Understandable. 3.8 was not the best experience, so I can see why 3.8 can, and I think it's how you feel about 3.8 is how they felt about it. It's very clear that they were like, we're not going to do this again.
Yeah,
So,
and I appreciate that they want to make 3.9 like a lot better, but it's been an Evocati, I think, longer than even 3.0 was, wasn't it?
This is how there was some chart that said this is the longest Evocati stretch that there's ever been, but it's also the scenario that we are in the world, so it's kind of hard to blame that necessarily. But at the same time, they're saying
I'm not necessarily like upset that like the virus stuff is like delaying it possibly. I just kind of wish that they didn't say it wasn't going to do that.
Yeah.
Because they were like, oh,
don't worry. Yeah.
Our new work at home reality won't change anything. And I was like, okay, we'll see.
Yeah.
If they said, hey, it might cause delays, I'd be more okay with that. It's just like being actually transparent about possible delay.
Yeah, like sometimes there are people who do like a lot of the marketing stuff. I feel like they definitely have their goals in mind, and then the development team has their goals in mind, and they're not necessarily coexisting together is sometimes how it feels, right?
Yeah, I kind of feel like the marketing team is CIG's problem.
I think we, at least here at SaltEMike Studios, we absolutely feel that way. I think it is all of CIG's problems. Is the need to sell ships will always exist because that's their income, right? But they don't sell the game necessarily at the moment. They sell the spaceships, which has its own problems. But I think
because oh, let's sell the Carrack and then price hike it twice in a month before it comes out, and then a $20 white skin, and I know shit like in like 2018 they were like, oh yeah, we have this new paint system for the ships now, and it's gonna be great.
300, yeah. What happened to that? And the thing is your Carrack would have cost around $20-$30 to customize in that system easily. Yeah, maybe more.
Because like I am kind of a whale with this game, unfortunately, and I would have easily bought like the special like textured paint job and like the cushier seats because like whatever.
Yeah. It's fun. It makes it your own. It makes it personal. That system's great. I don't know why they didn't continue with it.
I mean, like, I think this isn't necessarily related to the patch, but like the thing that I think that they should do to maybe like take the cost of ships down is whenever Theaters of War gets done, they should make that a free-to-play game. And then put like cosmetic microtransactions in that, and that would reduce costs elsewhere, make them more money, and get people into the game, and then also stop like the CIG can't make a game and finish it thing.
Yeah,
and I think Theaters of War could be like a nice, like, I think like the PlanetSide 2 crowd might come from there, and they'd get into the game, and I don't know. I think that should be kind of the way that they go with Theaters of War.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty off topic, obviously, but I think that is, the first time I ever heard that idea was from WTFosaurus way back, like a long time ago, and I couldn't agree more with him that microtransactions, little cosmetic things are the way we should go for that stuff. But yeah. we'll definitely talk about that another day. But is there anything else related to the development and the way the patch is going that you want to add before we go to the next call?
Not really. Besides, like, just at this point, I kind of want to just play it and then wait for the improvement patches.
Gotcha. Yeah, like I like when ASN pointed that stuff out. And Kitsu, we're gonna let you go. Have a great one. Thank you so much for your call. And
Yeah, no problem.
yeah,
Thanks
man.
for having me on.
Yeah, hopefully we have you again soon. First time, right?
Yep.
Nice. Hope you enjoyed yourself.
Yeah, it was cool.
Later, man. All right. So yeah, that's the one thing that ASM pointed out. Like the thing is that the 0.1 and 0.2s, I don't think it's necessarily that they're there for let's have 3.9 drop be a total disaster and then 3.1 or 3.9.1 and 3.9.2 fix those issues. I think it was more continue the polish and make things better and take feedback from players and adjust things, I think is more the point of that. So before we get into our next caller, who is Quams, we'll do a Twitter post. And it comes from Mud Trucker, who often posts on Twitter with us. And he said, I would rather CI push 3.9 to date-driven model rather than a polishing model. Otherwise, we get that slippery slope back to 3.0 waiting. Obviously, the current situation, I was not expecting 3.9 at the end of March. Yeah. The thing is do you really think we'll ever have a 3.0? That was a year. But again, what is an appropriate timeline then, right? Like, how late is it allowed to be, right? And everyone's level of punishment is going to be in a different place. So, I mean, if we had, in my opinion, guys, if we had a 3.0 level drop of content in Star Citizen, I could almost wait a year for it. If you dropped, bang, like the astronomical amount of features that came from 2.0 to 3.0, that's not, it'd be a horrible wait, but it'd be like a wow experience. It doesn't make any sense. It would never happen. But, going from 2.0 to 3.0 was pretty freaking wild. So, yeah, it's just how late is late allowed to be and that differs for everybody. So that's a little bit weird. All right, let's bring in our next caller. His name is Quams. Quams, what's up? How you doing?
Hey, hi. I'm good. Are you good as well?
I'm
really
doing
good
okay. Yeah, I'm doing all right.
Yeah, it's good to see you up and running. That's always good these days.
Yeah, I wasn't feeling great this morning. I just ate something weird. I think, I don't know. Feeling a little funky, so I came on late today. So what are your thoughts on 3.9 and the way they're kind of thinking about doing things now?
Yeah, let me first jump into something the guy before said,
Okay.
which I'm completely with him. And that is when CIG came out and said, oh, well, there won't be any delays with everybody switching to work at home. I was like, what? I mean, I'm working in a company which has 150 people worldwide in Canada, Brazil, and Germany, and I'm part of the administration team as well, because it's small companies. You do multiple things, and it took me basically 8 days to set everything up that everybody could work from home. And there's all the little problems which suddenly jump in, that environments aren't there anymore, or that one of all the logins coming in at one side for some reason can't reach a server on the other side, and you sit there and asking yourself, whoa, what is happening here?
Yeah, my mother had so many problems with hers.
Yeah, and as you say, I don't know anybody in various industries where it actually worked seamlessly. So I was like, oh, guys, you can't tell me that. It's marketing bullshit. And why are you actually saying it? I mean, nobody would have blamed you when you say, look, guys, we'll use a week. Yeah. So that was a bit of a strange thing. But with regard to 3.9 and the whole roadmap situation, I was ranting about it a couple of months ago on one of your ATCs about what is happening there, and I've been a bit humbled because two of my own projects are now entered hot phase, and
hot meaning you're throwing in features, right?
Yeah, well, I'm working in for the offshore industry doing robotic systems there.
Okay.
So it's basically means that yes, it shifted with Corona, but these guys are still working. So that just means that the time when we have to deploy on vessels are just coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, we're switching from the pure feature development part now to, okay, we have to get that stuff solid enough that we can go for 1 week in a vessel being paid by offshore oil and gas, who are not really happy if something doesn't work, when you're on the boat. So I'm a bit humbled there, and I guess the one thing what we have to keep in mind is what I always like to call the pregnant woman fallacy. That means you can't paralyze everything. So 1 woman, 9 months, 1 baby. 9 women, 1 month, no baby. And this is especially true when it comes to bug hunting on the so-called integration phase. So you have all your little components, everything is working. For example, you have taking the CRG example, there is the prison mining is working perfectly well on the 3 people who are doing it, and then you integrate it in the overall scheme, and then suddenly something pops up, and suddenly you have 15 avocatis doing that thing, and for some reason it blocks, it doesn't work. Things which work perfectly for 2 people doesn't work for 15, or maybe even more. And it's extremely hard to judge how much time you spend on these kinds of problems and bugs. It's one of the big problems in software industry in general. And when you have dependency on that stuff, or when you have personal dependencies because you need several skill sets of a couple of people who are now working again on some part of the business system, suddenly your whole nicely laid up roadmap starts to topple over and fumble, and like dominoes, the whole thing crashes and comes down. And I think again, my industry is a lot different than gaming industry, but from my experience is I rather wait a bit to get something which is not crashing on me all the time and gives me some kind of real playing environment which then allows, on the other hand, to find the bugs which only come up when you actually do 15 missions, when you like yourself, when you play for 2 hours mining, with all the independencies. You scan you don't only scan once, you scan 50 times. You have no idea what the data structures are running behind a mining scan, for example. So maybe it works for 10 times perfectly, but the 11 times something crashes. And for me, it's I rather like them to say, okay, we give out something to the PTU where we know that we have fixed the problems we already encountered in Avocati.
How long are you willing to wait?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. This is hard to answer.
Yeah.
This is really hard to answer because it is a lot of personal feeling as well and other people. But I have no problem waiting another week, to be quite honest.
What if you wait until the end of the month?
I have so much work that I don't care, but and maybe I managed to finally get some money back in 3.8, but I think in a month it starts. I think we start to a point which the first really good call said that maybe CRG needs to look into switching to a 3-patch model.
Yeah.
Because what I just pointed out. Yeah. Just about out, like the integration part gets more complex.
Yeah.
Because you have more features in it, so there's more interaction. So it slows down. You can't do anything against it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But end of month would be like, maybe I would start to get a little bit grumpy there. At least end of month for PTU, to be honest. I mean, let's be honest there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, all right, Quams. I'll let you go because the
awesome.
calls are filling in. I'm not surprised. We always have such a hard time getting calls early on, so I let the first couple of calls go really long, and then all of a sudden we have like a wealth of.
No problem. I was in the benefit of being on the front end for a couple of times, so no problem there.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Nice talking to you, and keep up the streams because that's my favorite thing in the mornings to look at while drinking my first coffee, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. And
Yeah.
you keep up and stay safe, okay?
Yeah, you too.
All right, man. Later.
Ciao, ciao.
What's up, Earth? How you doing?
Hey, Mike. Doing good.
Yeah. So, what do you think? We've had lots of discussions on stream. What do you think about everything here?
Well, my own personal view is that I don't want to play a buggy mess when it comes out.
Same.
You know, I'd rather them take a little bit more time. It doesn't have to be perfect,
Mhm.
but you know, if it's crashing, you know, every time you try to do a cargo run or something like that, then there's really no sense in putting it out. And I think the community doesn't like that either. You know, they don't want to play something that's just falling apart. So
Yeah, I mean, there's two working gameplay loops, and they're both affected majorly by 30K errors.
absolutely. So, you know, there's that aspect. I did want to talk about something that ASN had mentioned. He talked about, well, hey, if it's taking a little bit longer, you know, just stretch it to 4 months. You know, if it seems like they need that extra month.
Yeah.
But I'll say I actually disagree with that. I don't think that's a good way for them to go.
Okay. Why?
Well, the reason there is that there's some kind of axiom in just kind of the development community in general, and people that are in development know what I'm talking about, where development tends to fill whatever time you provide for it. So I think if they were to go from 3 months to 4 months, yes, we might see a little bit more content, but it's not, they would just add more things in and things would just take longer.
Mhm.
Their development model of agile and sprinting actually breaks it up even in much shorter chunks, in like little 3-week increments. They should see that kind of progress, right? So I don't think it really helps significantly just to add another month to it. Like I said, because things just tend to fill that void, whatever you provide.
So what you're saying basically is, if they were to go to these 4-month patch cycles instead of 3 months, we would see a roadmap that is even more filled than it was before and get just as compressed into oblivion as we've been seeing.
Yeah, I think
There might be
so.
a little bit more content in it, but we're still going to see the same level of punishment.
Right. I think they would say, okay, we have 4 months. This is how much content we can do with a little bit more time.
Mm-hmm.
And then get towards the end, maybe things are broken, they're having bug problems. And yeah, I don't think it really changes the picture at all.
So how I gathered ASN was saying everything was, they wouldn't be taking the time to add more content. They would be taking more time to do the polishing of it and allow the current content that continues to get pushed out more time to actually be feature complete and in the build rather than not. That's how I understood him, but I also understand what you're saying and what would likely happen.
Yeah. I'm not sure that's how it would play out.
Okay.
That you would still plan for 3 months and just have a month of polish, because if you know in the back of your mind, for some reason, it's just one of these mental things. If you know, though, you've got actually 4 months, then things would just take a little bit longer on the development side. It's just the way it works out on the ground.
Yep. Okay.
You know, I actually think their regression testing and being able to, like I said, in those little shorter 3-week kind of increments that they're going, I'm a little surprised that we see a lot of 2 steps forward and 1 step back, because they should be fixing the things as they go a little bit more. And it seems like I'm not really seeing a lot of that. Maybe what you're seeing is different, but it just seems like, wow, this used to work great and now it's broken. And so why aren't we fixing things as we?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I see things getting better over time because less people are playing. Sometimes is what I think that's what you're talking about, right? Like, I'm enjoying the patch now and I wasn't enjoying it before.
It's more about things that, you know, would work and then don't work. And, you know, yeah, I realize they're probably going through some really major
Mhm.
updates, with the server side of CS. There's some sort of physics thing that apparently they're working on. I really don't know what that's all about, but it's this really core stuff, that's happening there. And so I'm sure there's a lot of growing pains with that. I'm assuming it's because of that, but it's
Yeah.
just weird when you know, play something and it works, like, and then you get the next patch and suddenly, yeah, they added some new content, but now a bunch of other things that seem unrelated just don't work anymore.
Okay.
A mission
Yeah.
giver just stops interacting with you. I don't know what you did that made the mission giver stop interacting, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now I understand. Yeah, and that's happened every patch that we've played for Eternity. Is that some things just start degrading for some reason.
Yeah, but
Um,
yeah, the short is, I think I'd rather have it. I'd rather have it playable than not, if that's really the choice that we're given.
Yeah. And how I asked the last caller this, how long are you willing to wait? If it takes a little longer.
Hmm. I'll agree with the previous guy there. That's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
I'm willing to wait another month.
Okay.
That would be kind of, at that point, I'm like, don't even bother. Just wait till the very next patch. Then we're
Yeah.
almost halfway there.
Yeah. I mean, are you talking about in general are you talking about 3.9 because of the obvious scenarios, or are you willing to wait a month for any patch that needs the time?
No, I think if they're really running it, if they're running into issues, and like I said, they're seeing it's a buggy mess, then okay, I'm willing to wait another month for them to clean that up and put it out. But I think if it takes much longer than that,
Mhm.
just try to roll it into the next one. Maybe
Okay.
staggered development doesn't really support that, but
Yeah. Well, let me jump in because Zyloh actually is here and is responding to this. He goes, "We've cited." Oh no, it bounced away. "We've cited a few reasons. It's late already. The transition to work from home, etc. But it's also worth noting that we're willing to squash some desync issues before rolling out. Great progress on those bugs. Actually, we're getting very close." Okay, so that's. I still haven't watched Star Citizen Live or anything like that, but I pay a decent amount of attention to SC's development, and this is the first time I've seen them mention why we're late. So I appreciate that like more than ever, Zyloh. Thank you so much. That obviously it was work from home. You may be coming in a little bit late. The title says, should Star Citizen 3.9 be late? It's more addressing what was said on Pillar Talk, and maybe I was reading too much into it, where I think Chris said we're willing to wait some time and not be super strict on date driven to make sure a patch is polished. And it sounds like, hey, we want to resolve some desync issues, so we're going to push the patch out a little bit later until we do. That's what it sounds like to me now. And I mean, Earth, I have you on the call. Now what do you think? Because that is kind of a little bit of a game changer in the conversation. A huge game changer in the conversation, because it puts a subject and a understanding of why, besides the work from home scenario that we all knew was going to be an issue.
Yeah, I don't know in the background what they're doing. I'm sure they're incorporating some things that help improve the desync that we see and stuff. So again, it's kind of that core tech stuff that I said. I know there's a lot of growing pains there, so I kind of write a lot of it off to that, and it's going to be that way for a while, I think, till they get a lot of things incorporated there with all of that. So that's why for me it's like, okay, it's a month late because you want to try to get more of that working better. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I said earlier too, is I'd rather have, and just like you did, is I'd rather have, I'm not as concerned about how many features come into every patch. I'm way more concerned that as the patch drops, and for me personally, it's when the patch leaves PTU and goes live, is that when that scenario is really solid and enjoyable, you have an entire 3 months, and maybe in this scenario, it's going to be more like 2 months or 2.5 months of a patch cycle where you get in, you play, you know what to expect, and you expect to be, or you know what to expect, but you're not expecting 30 Ks, client crashes nonstop. Like, you have expectations of how the game is going to play for you. And that's really positive. And that's what 3.7 really did. The only thing that hurt 3.7 was the fact that they still didn't have persistence. And 3.8, they had the persistence part pretty much nailed down, I think, between 3.8.1 and beyond. And now it's like a little bit buggier and has more issues. So, Earth, I'm going to let you go and bring in the next caller, unless you have something else you want to add to that. Sorry.
Just very quickly, I also agree with you. 4.0, just from what we know on the outside here, right? That, that shouldn't be affected by a delay here, because those guys have already been working, what is it now, like 4 months towards that. And so the only possible impact there is that if this patch gets delayed too long, that tightens up the time frame they have to reintegrate 3.9 into that 4.0 branch and get it working. So, that's kind of the only risk there. If it goes too long, it shortens their reintegration time.
Exactly. Well, all right, Earth, thank you so much.
Hey, appreciate
I appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you. You're always so kind. Appreciate it, man. Very nice.
All right.
So Zyloh says another thing in chat. A feature might not be ready in time and end up getting cut. A bug is different. If there is a nasty issue, we will take a little time to hammer on it, since 3.7 playability and quality of life have been pretty important to us. And that is one thing, like, I know sometimes here we talk about their communication lacking. That is one thing that they've communicated very clearly to us this entire time, is that quality of life is going to be important. From CitizenCon saying that gameplay is important, all the way down to many video updates, patch note updates, other updates on Spectrum. Quality of life is definitely an initiative for them, and it's very clear that that's one of the things that they're talking about here, where the desync is an issue. And obviously it's hard because people don't have the patch, they're not playing it, they don't see the issues, and they don't know why they don't have the patch, right? They just go, where's my patch? They don't actually know what the issues are. And I mean, I think there's been some pretty hard desync in 3.8, and I don't think we should, as a player of this game, and I think most people would agree with me, I don't think we should be dealing with that kind of issue for 6 months, right? I think that the team should, be making the effort that they appear to be making right now on trying to resolve that one major problem. And it really is, right? Like, even just mining in a mole is an issue with it. But all right, let's bring on our next caller. We got King Gear coming in. What's up, King?
Hello.
You're not on the toilet this time, right?
No promises.
Okay. So what do you think about everything? Especially now that Zyloh's come in and really cleared up a lot of the questions that we had that we didn't really have answers for it. At least I didn't notice them.
Well, that's exactly what I kind of expected. Yes, it should be late because of the work from home. You absolutely cannot expect something to be, fully out when they're transitioning between, working from a studio to working from home and trying to get the same exact setup from their studio, but at home. It's difficult, and not everybody has the space to have that type of stuff.
Yeah, let me jump in real quick because I'll just pop in with Zyloh comments here, so people are that aren't watching live are getting the same kind of understandability of what's going on that are here. He says desync is not only fun but hinders playability and the ability to test, and it creates fatigue. Which desync sucks. It's like one of the worst things ever, especially in a game where we should be kind of PvPing, interacting with each other. This game is very meant to be where we're together, whether we're fighting each other or fighting with each other. It's important. So, all right, King, I'm sorry. Continue.
No, that's pretty much it. It's with everything going on and all that. No one should really expect it to come out ASAP.
No.
It's hard times. Trying to be safe too. Trying not to get the virus is also quite difficult. Especially when you're going back and forth from the office trying to get whatever you need to work from home.
Yeah.
And then a week later, you forgot something else, and you go over there, and then somebody might have it without them know. It's just it's difficult.
Yeah, and Zyloh pops in, and this is pretty much directly responding to what you're saying. is, let me be clear, I meant the transition to work from home. We are set up pretty damn well to keep pumping out content from home. Yeah, like I think I think when you guys came out and said that you were really well suited for it, we agreed. We know you work across other studios and talk over Skype all the time. Like, how would this be any different? But I think some people took that a little too literally and thought that everything would just be fine, right? And even though you're still able to work from home a lot better than some other companies that weren't as equipped, it's still obviously going to have an impact, right? And that's what Zyloh says here. The transition was impactful, but we're now ready to rock. So yeah, but King, like I was more along the lines of, we knew that the patch would have some issues because of what's going on in the world. But
Yes.
I was more approaching the idea of, on Pillar Talk, of what they said, that they were at one point. Aaron Roberts comes on and says date driven and is very strict, like says we are going to be very strict about it this time, I swear. And then Chris comes on and says not the opposite, but something very different. And the title of the show is a little bit different than what we're actually discussing, because it would be a very long title and I wouldn't be able to fit it in. But like it seems like flip-flopping, but it's the kind of flip-flop that I prefer the way that they're doing it now. Is if, like Zyloh said, if there's a bug and there's an issue that we need to fix it. Like, and if it's going to take a little bit longer, then it's going to take a little bit longer. And I am totally fine with that. So what do you feel about that, aside from the obvious work from home issue?
Honestly, I've been doing this whole thing for Star Citizen for 5 years, so whatever they delay, I'm kind of expecting it by now. Even if it's something that's like 99% complete, and they say, oh yeah, we have to just bring it back a little bit for for the next patch. I'm kind of just expecting it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. That's how I feel too, is if it's a few weeks, if it's a month, it doesn't bother me too much. But then at the same time, at the beginning of the show, the only concern of mine is how does this affect 4.0? And
exactly, yeah.
Because currently some of the features in 4.0, some of the features in 4.1 are starting to look really nice. So it's like, hopefully we get those and in a good state as well. But all right, King, I'll let you go and bring in the next one.
Sounds good. I'll see
later, man. We'll play Last Oasis soon, I promise. They were so mad at me that they bought Last Oasis, and I haven't really played it that much yet. All right, so we're bringing in Groth. Groth, what's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, Mike. I'm doing sort of fine.
Yeah. Are you okay? Hopefully not too sick.
I'm healthy. Like
Okay.
financially, it's bad, but
Yeah.
I'm healthy.
Yeah.
And family is also good.
That's good. That's the most important thing. We can always make more money. Money is possible to make. But obviously after this, it's going to be a little tougher for all of us, right? But what do you think about 3.9?
Because of the situation, like I'm fine with the delay, but like some people said before, maybe just do a 3 release schedule this year, and be do what they can.
Mm-hmm.
I just want, together with that, our basically ongoing topic always, a good information politic, to reduce it to 3 patches at least this year, to cope with the situation, and with the delays of 3.9, and then inform the people what is planned, what is needed, especially with big systems, and then also, and don't wait until CitizenCon or last quarter, basically.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, we're in this situation now, and it's just delayed. I mean, we can't change it.
Yeah, I think more of the issues with, it's less of the timeline on a patch, and I think it's more of the roadmap. I noticed a lot of people commenting about the roadmap a little bit today, and it's we see what a roadmap looks like at the beginning rather than what it actually ends up at the end. And I think people do not have the pain threshold or whatever for stuff like that as much. Where I think I'm kind of used to it. I don't pay as much attention to the roadmap as I used to. But when you do look at what 3.9 was supposed to be and what 4.0 was supposed to be, and like all down the line, obviously those are very, very exciting. And it's hard to watch the features not be ready. And it's just difficult to deal with. I don't know, because that seems to be what you're responding to more than anything, is just the...
Yeah, I mean, the 3.9 thing is okay. They should just adapt, but they should tell us more about the future, because especially in a year when you're having those delays, when you have a bit, because of the situation, because maybe some more eyes on the project, because some have more time to look into Star Citizen again.
Yeah.
Just to inform themselves, the people, and make it clear now what is really needed in terms of background systems to get the things done, and how the squadron situation is, in what stage, like in what release year we can expect it.
You know what's funny is a lot of people complain, me included, that Star Citizen's focus on selling spaceships seems to be their main focus. But when they pay attention to quality of life and say, hey, we don't want to push a patch out until the quality of life in it is acceptable. What they're really doing there is recognizing that their ship commercials aren't the only thing that sell Star Citizen anymore. The actual game does now. The game is far enough along, and even though it's not where we all wish Star Citizen would be, the game is far enough along that when people see it, they're interested. They're hooked. When before, it was when we watched a video and heard people talk about it, we were interested and we were hooked. It's very different now. So when they go ahead and spend time on making sure the game, which advertises for itself nowadays, is good, we get mad at them. But we don't want them to sell spaceships either. Like, imagine if they spent more time, I know they're separate things, but imagine if they spent more time on making sure the quality of life is good, like they're doing now. They would have to spend less time on marketing their spaceships that they're selling, right? And the game sells itself. And yeah, you're going to be buying starter packages and what's already available to purchase, upgrades and things like that to bigger ships, and less of a focus on them having to go, all right, we need to put another concept ship out or a straight to flyable ship out. And the dev time that it takes to get those in game is a reality too. It's not something that doesn't exist either, you know? And then we get upset that they're putting out new ships to sell and not making the old ships that we want them to make, right? So if the game sold itself, they would have to do less than that. And that's a real thing too. Maybe that's not exactly what they're thinking. I don't know what they're thinking, but the game would sell itself.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem some people have is maybe that it's too much on the nose with selling ships, and that there's too much around it. Like with the what's the mine laying ship again? Nautilus.
The Nautilus,
yeah. Like the mini game that was then just up for a short time, doing that much work, like for it, seems like a bit of like unnecessary work for ship sales. Like even though I don't want to buy any more ships, and the only problem I have is not adding more ships. The problem is putting too much effort like on the sale itself, and then
the thing is that
it's basically stat creep that you have always better ships, that the ships not only
I see
they learn
that,
not only that they learn how to make the ships better, and that they work, and that they're not like just a
They
maze of
look better
corridors
because they're getting better
basically.
at it, right? Like look at a
Yeah.
Constellation versus some of the ships that we have now. Constellation
Yeah.
was like everybody's multi-crew ship that they wanted. Now who wants the Constellation? Not too many people, right?
Yeah,
But the one thing I
just
don't, I
should not
can't
make
agree with.
people regret to have bought it like a ship like 5 years ago,
Yeah, but that's just
like in terms of stats.
yeah. But I was gonna respond to something that you were saying that I didn't agree with. I can't remember what it was. What was your comment before the stat creep? You remember?
Too much focus on marketing. I mean, not only
yes.
trailers. Like some people can do a trailer. I think professionals can do it quite quickly. I mean, we see a lot of talented people in the community doing even those trailers quite quickly and with a very high quality.
Yeah,
But like doing that mini game was that seemed really like, because that is not some video editor. That's a programmer that does it.
But
And
let's
that
discuss
seems
that. Let's discuss that
excessive.
real quick. That is very basic in comparison to what anybody is doing. Like, I could have made some of these website games, like when I was taking Visual Basic in high school. Like, I mean, we're talking about these guys are making Star Citizen, right? So them doing that and it's most likely in their free time, something like that, and maybe doing like a little bit of OT for fun. Like that's what those kind of games I think tend to be. Hyper Vanguard Force, when that came out, that was definitely someone doing something in their free time for shits and giggles. The thing, and the other thing I wanted to address with you is the focus on marketing versus other things. Is the marketing team focuses on marketing, the game development team focuses on game development. I don't understand how those two are related.
Yeah, I mean, if you have like marketing programmers, etc., like for those games, like people who are extra, like part of the department. If that department basically grows too big, too fat, then of course that takes too much funds away. I mean, okay, of course, marketing gets funds back. That is the main department that gets the funds basically.
Yeah.
But still, I would rather have them like focus on trailers or so, and then hire more programmers to get the game, to get more those game mechanic teams. Or
yeah, I mean, look at what's happening now. Like you see Zyloh and other devs show up with spaceships on Twitch streams. Like the most simple, not getting in the way of anything marketing, right? Where I don't know. I think I just can't agree with that being an issue. At all, in relation to getting a patch late.
No, it's just what you said, because that the game sells itself, and that they don't need to such a, that is like I said, like my point towards 3.9. That was just the point towards that selling ships is bad. I mean, we know. I mean, by now we know that is problematic for the balance at the start, but I mean, there are still some gaps in the tier system that for a good game, and basically if they sold it back then a good portion and some mechanics, then they can do it again. But like don't like make it too much of like the main thing, like people say, like when they look into the game, like not they go into the website and bam, new ship sale, basically bam, new ship sale. Like, I mean, it should be marketed, of course, but that shouldn't be the first thing, like when people look at the new portal, basically.
Yeah.
But in general, like, because they did it in such extent until like a later status beta or release, I'm not against it, and I think that together with the game marketing itself is still a viable strategy.
Oh, yeah. There's no denying their strategies work.
Yeah, but
they work fantastically.
Yeah,
more this year than ever.
Still on the, even though I'm still a bit disagreeing that the game is in a bit of a status that it sells itself. I think it's often like gets good new sales numbers because some bigger streamers that don't know the game that much overhype it a bit basically, and then they sell into the next early access thing. Like so many survival games get sold in such big numbers and drop again.
But do you really? I mean, listen, dude. Do you really think that a few streamers playing the game for a week made the millions upon millions of dollars that they're making over the last 6 months? Or do you think it's because more people are saying the game is finally in a state where I can play it? I'm buying in. I'd really love, I would love, I don't think they'll ever release this, is what's selling now? How are they making the money? How much are they making from starter level packages versus old whales buying more and more and more? I would love to see that. They'll never share that, but I'd love to know. I'm so curious.
Yeah, from the people I know, it's old people. Like even though people who are newer to the game. Yeah.
In relation to how much money, I mean, do you see how much money they're making right now? It almost doesn't seem real.
Yeah, but I mean, compared to last year, it's a big chunk more. But
huge.
I mean, like compared to last year, I mean, we had the Carrack sale, etc. Like, if you take that as a baseline, then just basically what this year they take in more would be those new people or basically newer backers that came in with a 3.8 or some bigger marketed patches and then expanded their fleet.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it would be that thing would be interesting. But yeah, I mean, personally, I don't think that the game is in such a state, and I'm always a bit boggled that people like the cargo system here, and even if they play solo compared to games like X, where it just is way more interesting.
Yeah,
but
you know what's funny? Yeah. As I saw a commercial today that said 10 years in the making, like for X4. 10 years? Was it 10 years in development?
But has it been 10 years since the last? That's a bit. They basically at the time of between X3 and X4.
Gotcha.
They basically they treat Rebirth as basically a prequel to X4 and include that because Rebirth with Rebirth they did basically the 0.5 or 0. Whatever of the new graphics engine because they swapped the graphics engine from 3 to 4 or from 3 to Rebirth, and they worked on the Rebirth engine.
Gotcha.
So it's not basically 10 years in my opinion because the studio is so small. There weren't people that worked just on X4 for the whole time. They worked on Rebirth, then they worked on Rebirth VR and such, and then they worked on X4, and it's just a studio of like 30 people or so that are all in the working from the family house, from 2 stories of the family house from the studio head.
Yeah,
because German Magazine had a studio tour basically, and was basically under the roof. There's the meeting room. Bottom floor, there's a studio basically, including what would be the garage or so, like just those 20, 30 people, and basically between the families living.
Yeah. All right, Groth. Well, I guess we'll let you go and end ATC on that today. So thanks for calling in, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
And stay safe.
Yes, of course, you too. So, all right, guys. That's going to do it for Answer the Call. Thank you for joining me and Lola this week. We had a few technical issues, so we started a little bit late. And yeah, I like a lot of the things that ASN said. I'm curious if CIG will say, you know what, our patches don't really have as much oomph as we want them to, and maybe go to instead of quarterly, go to every 4 months. and give us 3 patches a year and really focus on quality of life then, and then we see less features fall off would be the ideal scenario. But I also see what Earth was saying, where they'll just manage their time differently and add more features in, and then more features fall off. So we'll have to see. But I also appreciate Zyloh. Zyloh, thank you for coming in and really clearing stuff up for us, because I was not aware, like, even as someone in Evocati, I was not aware of what was necessarily holding up the patch, right? So I do really, really appreciate that. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. Leave a like, subscribe, all that jazz, and we'll see you guys next week. Hopefully, we'll be discussing 3.9. I really hope so. Our thoughts on 3.9. Are we enjoying it? Does it look good? I'll catch you guys next week. Have a great one, everyone. Stay safe.